Imagine walking into your local supermarket for the weekly shop, only to find a handwritten sign on the door, unable to receive stock due to protests. For shoppers in Cambridge and Daventry, this isn't a what-if, it is the reality of a country at a breaking point. We are now in week 13 of a standoff that has moved from the fields to the distribution hubs. Right now, 40 tractors are paralysing the Daventry Tesco depot, and the shelves in the fresh produce aisles are starting to go cold. This isn't just about a tax, it's about a fourth-generation farmer standing at a gate at 5 a.m. fighting for the 80 years behind him. Sir Keir Starmer's government calls it a monitoring situation. The farmers call it an existential fight for survival. Who is telling the truth?
The strategy has shifted. This is no longer a random protest. It is a coordinated, rotating siege. Monday, it's Tesco. Tuesday, it's Lidl. Wednesday, it's Sainsbury's. By targeting the plumbing of our food supply, the distribution depots, farmers have found the government's weakest nerve. In Daventry, the depot was completely paralysed, with no deliveries in or out since dawn. The result? 40% stock shortages in some regions. Dairy, meat and fresh veg are the first to go. But here is the most shocking part. The public isn't blaming the farmers. Recent polls show a staggering 68% support for these actions. Even as the milk disappears, the public seems to understand that if there are no farms, there is no food.
The government tried to lean on the law. Morrison secured High Court injunctions to ban protests at 8 of its depots, threatening farmers with prison. The response? Farmers ignored the orders at those 8 sites and then blocked 20 more that weren't covered. It has exposed a terrifying reality for Westminster. You can issue all the paper orders you want, but you cannot easily move 50 tractors and 1,000 years of collective heritage with a police caution. The standoff at the port of Felixstowe, Britain's largest port, showed the same result. When the police arrived, they realised that arresting 50 farmers at a critical infrastructure point could trigger a national crisis, so they waited, and the ships stayed offshore. At the heart of this ice age in the countryside is the inheritance tax policy, labelled by many as the death tax. The Treasury sees revenue. The farmer sees the end of a lineage that, in some cases, dates back to the 1800s. Keir Starmer is betting that the protests will fade, that the farmers will get tired and go home. But he is playing a dangerous game of chicken with people who think in terms of generations, not election cycles. With rumours of a complete nationwide shutdown planned for March, the pressure is moving from the depot gates to the cabinet table.
The silence in the supermarket aisles is becoming the loudest political message in Britain today. We are witnessing a deadlock where something has to break. Either the government scraps a tax that the countryside cannot afford, or the British public learns what a total shutdown really feels like. Starmer is monitoring, the farmers are waiting, and the shelves are emptying.
Disgraceful, it's disgusting, and it's not to be tolerated. X has got to get a grip of this.
Keir Starmer is waging war on Elon Musk's social media platform X after its AI Grok produced indecent photos of the Prime Minister without his consent. He has now threatened to ban X in the UK altogether.
Keir Starmer threatened to pull the plug on X, and within minutes the political backlash detonated. What was meant to be a hardline warning from Downing Street instantly spiraled into a national revolt over free speech, with critics accusing the Prime Minister of crossing a line no British leader has dared touch in decades. Tonight, Britain is asking a single brutal question. Has the Prime Minister just declared war on the public square? It began with a set of AI-generated deepfake images that tore through the digital landscape without warning. Grok, Elon Musk's powerful chatbot embedded inside X, produced sexualized images of Starmer, doctored to humiliate and shock. Officials called them disgusting, and the Prime Minister himself appeared visibly enraged. As cameras rolled, he delivered a statement that froze Westminster mid-step. If X cannot control Grok, we will. All options are on the table. But almost instantly the story shifted. It was no longer about indecent images or AI misconduct. It was about the astonishing possibility that a sitting British Prime Minister was prepared to ban one of the world's largest platforms.
As Westminster scrambled, legal teams were summoned, and ministers rushed through emergency briefings, a new narrative began to form. The government announced immediate plans to activate legal powers, making it a crime to create or request non-consensual intimate images. Ofcom launched a live investigation into X, and senior officials confirmed that under the Online Safety Act, the platform could be blocked across the UK if regulators deemed it non-compliant. Inside the lobby, shock spread as journalists realised the scale of what Starmer had just implied. Blocking X would not simply be a regulatory action, it would be the most extreme digital intervention in British political history, something not even the EU, with its famously rigid digital rules, had attempted. And so, within the same hour, the government's moral stance collided with accusations of something far darker.
The thought of banning X from a government that's been attacking free speech and creating a two-tier society in our country, frankly, is appalling. What is happening with this capacity on X is monstrous, but banning X is not the answer.
Nigel Farage stepped forward with the force of a political wrecking ball. There was no attempt to soften his tone, no hesitation to confront the Prime Minister head-on. His statement landed with explosive clarity. The thought of banning X from a government that's been attacking free speech is appalling. Then he delivered the line that defined the moment. This is an assault on free speech in 21st century Britain. The country froze. Farage had reframed the story in a single sentence. Starmer was no longer a leader cracking down on harmful AI. He was a man attempting to regulate, or even destroy, a digital space where the public gather, speak, argue, and question authority. Almost instantly, public opinion began to split. Some applauded Starmer's anger towards AI-driven abuse. Others saw something far more ominous: a Prime Minister seizing an opportunity to tighten control over online speech at a time when government trust is already fragile. If Farage was the spark, Talk TV's Alex Phillips was the accelerant. Her broadcast went viral within minutes, not because it was provocative, but because it articulated a growing suspicion among millions of Britons.
You can't gaslight me, son. You ain't pulling the wool over my eyes. This has got nothing to do with the AI deepfakes, does it? You don't like X because it is a leading source of news in this country. You don't like X because you don't like free speech. You don't like X because you don't like people being able to exchange informations and opinions and ideas. You don't like the criticism, do you?
She accused Starmer of weaponizing the deepfake scandal to silence criticism. She listed every platform known for illicit or harmful content: TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, none of which faced threats of shutdown. Yet X, the only platform that consistently challenges the government narrative, had suddenly become the target. Her closing line hit like a hammer: "You don't hate deepfakes, you hate dissent." Across the country, thousands echoed the sentiment. They accused the government of hypocrisy, pointing to the continuous use of X by ministers to release official statements, announcements, and even photographs with children, the very groups Starmer claimed to be protecting.
From across the Atlantic, Elon Musk responded with the one word guaranteed to send shockwaves through diplomatic channels: fascist. It was not the first clash between Starmer and the tech billionaire. Musk previously accused the Prime Minister of failing to prosecute grooming gangs during his tenure at the Crown Prosecution Service, a claim that resurfaced instantly as the feud escalated. This time, however, the consequences were international. The United States is Britain's most crucial strategic ally, yet London found itself clashing with the owner of a critical communications platform used by government departments, journalists, and millions of citizens. The political temperature rose sharply.
This confrontation lands at a time when Britain is under immense pressure. Crime is rising, border enforcement is strained, NHS services are struggling to meet demand. Public frustration simmers beneath every political announcement. In such a climate, citizens cling to any arena where their voices still feel unfiltered. X has become one of those arenas, messy, loud, but undeniably free. And that is why Starmer's threat has triggered such an intense backlash.
To many, this is not about AI abuse. It is about a government pushing deeper into the lives, screens, and speech of its people. The Online Safety Act already grants Ofcom sweeping power. The ability to silence an entire platform, even temporarily, moves Britain into territory usually associated with authoritarian states, not Western democracies. The question now consuming the public is no longer what did Grok do, but what is the government planning to do next? Experts warn that banning X would do nothing to stop deepfakes. They would simply migrate. Political analysts warn that such a move risks fracturing trust at a time when the government cannot afford further instability. Even some Labour MPs privately worry that Starmer has stepped on dangerous ground.
Tonight, Britain faces a grim dilemma, an AI technology spiralling out of control, and a government tempted to assert unprecedented dominance over digital life. Farage may have delivered the fiercest blow, but the real battle is only beginning. Because if the Prime Minister is willing to silence one platform today, what prevents him silencing another tomorrow? And as the storm intensifies, one question hangs over the nation like a warning flare. Has Britain just taken its first step into an era where free speech exists only at the mercy of the state? While the families of Crowborough were asleep on Wednesday night, the buses were rolling in. No community consultation, no early warning. At 3:30 a.m., under the cover of darkness, over 300 unvetted men were moved into a local military training camp. This is the plain, painful truth of Britain today. Your government is moving in the middle of the night because they know they have lost the consent of the people. But the fury in Sussex isn't just about housing. It's about a deeper, more disturbing allegation of state deception. As thousands descend on Crowborough, a new and explosive question is being asked on the streets. Who exactly is being vetted and who is being hidden? Today, we look past the official slogans at the institutional lid being kept on the facts of Britain's rural transformation.
Let's look at the data. Crowborough is a rural community with limited travel links and overstretched services. Residents like Phil, who has lived next to the camp for 15 years, are now witnessing a 29% spike in local anxiety. Average housing prices are already feeling the devaluation effect. The Home Office admits they know local people don't want these facilities, but they are doubling down, calling it a deterrent. But what is the cost to the social fabric? When you import hundreds of undocumented individuals into a community that never voted for it, you haven't solved a crisis, you've relocated it. The national uprising we are seeing in 15 different cities is a direct response to a system that treats British communities as nothing more than postcodes for unverified arrivals. This leads us to the most controversial allegation of all. On the front lines of these protests, a staggering theory has taken root among the public, that the vetting system has failed so completely that unverified individuals are being utilised in roles of authority. While the Prime Minister speaks of a legal mind, the public sees a political mind that refuses to legislate against what they call an illegal invasion. The allegation that unvetted arrivals are being hidden within state structures, even under the guise of enforcement attire, is a symptom of a government that has lost all credibility. If the Home Office can move 300 men in the dead of night without a single ID being verified, the public's curiosity about who is really managing our streets is not prejudice, it is a demand for accountability. This isn't an administrative error, it is a systemic choice to prioritise secrecy over the safety of our daughters and the integrity of our borders. The fire of discontent that started in the cities has now reached the heart of rural Britain. The government thinks that by moving in the night and ignoring the roars of the thousand, the anger will vanish. They are wrong. You cannot build a new model on the ruins of public trust. To those who stayed for the truth, you see the gates swinging open while the community is kept in the dark. Our promise to you is to keep tracking the coaches they won't announce and the vetting failures they'd rather you didn't hear about. we confirm that Crowborough is just the beginning. The British public is calling time on being ignored.